You mentioned earlier talking to young boys that you talk to and talking to them about masculinity. I often think about me being a young black boy growing up where I've grown up. I often think about
where did you grow up?
So Southeast London, so like Woolwich, Charlton, around there.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Ends.
Yeah, ends.
I grew up there too.
Okay, crazy. See, this is why your face is familiar. But when you was watching me and you was going to school, I was probably like a little kid about primary school.
Yeah. I don't know. I probably bumped into you at the local Tesco or something. Who knows?
But yes, I often do think about the connections with me between my masculinity and what that means for me and my emotions and how I navigate the emotions. I feel like I'm in tune with my emotions and how I feel, and I don't let it lead me to make decisions. I feel like when I feel like it is getting to a heightened stage, I'm self-aware enough to be like, okay, you know what? Let me remove myself from this situation, because I know that right now, my emotions are gonna like tell me to do something that I don't want to do. So let me remove myself from the situation, let the emotions die down a bit, and then make a decision on whatever it is. And I'm constantly thinking about them two things simultaneously: masculinity, emotions. Masculinity, how do I define masculinity? How am I perceived in terms of masculinity? Is that something you ever thought about growing up from these same communities, growing up to do what you're doing, the school we went to, which was a boys' school, which, you know, is full of guys competing for their masculinity, and like I'm like how is that for you growing up and understanding these things for yourself in order to help other young kids?
That's really interesting, man. Really interested. I think you're right about to have that tension, by the way. You know, I always speak about healthy tensions. Tensions aren't a bad thing. You know, tensions are really important. Tensions can create movement. I mean, think about a car. The way a clutch works in the car is, you know, the two pads come together, they create tension, and that tension like propels the car forward. So I don't think tension's normally bad. And I think working and trying to work out, you know, how to balance something in your head, it's a good thing. I don't think you should ever be in a place where you're like, I figured out masculinity, done. It's like, probably not, right? In a similar way, yeah, you know, it's we're touching on these massive topics. I'm like, how do I skin it? Like, where do I come in from?
I didn't tell you.
It's good. No, it's good. It's just, you know, I feel sorry for your listeners. You know, like, what's Michael doing? He's just saying everything. Now, the masculinity point, you know, what is a man? If we start there, like, right. Who knows, right? In today's society, there's a lot of different things that folks cling on to. I think we all have to pick our reference point. I'm a believer. I'm a Christian, so my reference point is the Bible, and I'm very happy saying that wherever I am, whether I'm in a meeting with tech people or I'm in church, I'm gonna say what I believe, and what I believe is I believe in Jesus, right? And so for me, God, who I think created us, actually gives very clear definitions, if you like, of what masculinity is, what men are, who men are, and he does it in view of what they're meant to do. Sorry, my Siri's trying to get involved. He does it in view of what men are meant to do, right? So he ties who they are, we're all created in the image and likeness of God, with their tasks. So Adam's given this task of naming animals, And woven into all of that, right, is God's depiction of what men are meant to do, what they're meant to, why they exist, right? There's the biological part, the fact that men, and this is controversial in the world we live in, but typically have a certain reproductive organ, a penis, but on top of that have a certain frame, have is it the XY chromosomes, the XX? Which one is it?
Yeah,
I forgot. But my mom will be very disappointed. She's a medical professional. She was like, Michael, what's a shame? But the point is, there's the biological aspect, but then the role that men are meant to fulfill in the world. I believe God gives men great vision, and God makes men visionaries. Can women have vision? Of course they can. That's not the point. The point is, if you think about in the Bible, what does God give men? He makes them visionaries. He gives them a task. Some men are workers. It makes them providers, right? It makes them leaders. And this is not the domineering type of leader. This is a kind of cultivating and bringing out the best in other people type of leader. All those things are part and parcel, I think, of what God has designed and created men to do. And, as a believer, I believe too that God has given men dominion over the earth. So men are meant to subdue the earth, make good things out of the earth, not out of other people, but the earth. And I just find all of that seems and probably sounds like some old school hogwash to a lot of people. But here's the thing. As we've pushed away those traditional religious even thoughts about what masculinity is, we've created this nebulous, foggy reality now where men don't really know what to cling on to.